Welcome to my video on repairs and upgrades that need to be made when you live in your RV or rig full time. Today we're going to cover all of your options and what you need to be aware of. Vehicle repairs are always a pain, especially when you live in your vehicle, your rig, your RV, whatever it might be, full time. Today we're going to cover 3 options, and they work great, but there are some things you need to be aware of. Number 1 is mobile mechanics and RV repair techs. Those are 2 different things if you live in your RV. Well, I guess even if you're driving a truck and pulling a trailer, because your engine compartment, your cabin, is usually a mobile mechanic, and then anything that has to be done on the house end is a mobile RV tech repair. These guys usually come to you, and I say usually because sometimes you may be too far out, and if you are, there's often a trip charge that will be added, so you need to be aware of that. For example, in the RV park where I am, about 40 miles outside of town, to have any one of these guys, the engine repair or the house repair mobile tech, come out, it's about an $85 trip charge, so be aware of that. The other thing that you need to be aware of is increasingly, and I wasn't aware of this, it was news to me, but I recently learned and experienced that RV parks are sometimes charging a repair fee if you are having repairs done in their park, and it can be as much as $75. Ask me how I know. It is wonderful to have people come to you to service you on your site because you don't have to unhook. You get to stay plugged in. You have that convenience of staying in your home, but also be aware that it may take longer. 1, they have to work you in. 2, if they come out and they don't have the parts that they need, they're going to have to go back to town, and if you're very far out, there's going to probably be another reschedule or another trip charge. And these guys are so popular, it takes a while to get scheduled with them. So just know that you need to plan on being somewhere for a while if you're going to use a mobile RV repair tech or a mobile mechanic. How do you find these guys? Well, if you're in an RV park that ask around. Sometimes RV park offices will have a recommendation. Of course, you can do your internet search and just make sure that you are getting a well-rated one and that you can check on referrals. Call around and do that. Also, be sure that their work is warranted. That is important, not just the parts that they're putting in, but that their work is warranted. And is your mechanic ACE certified? Those are some of the things that you can ask when you're checking on the referrals and when you talk to them individually. Be sure you get written estimates up front too when at all possible. And if they are coming to you and they come one trip to give you written estimates and then they wait to go and schedule the actual work, again, that's another delay. Just know that you got to be patient. Your second option is sometimes you can find a shop that will let you stay in your rig while they do the work. However, I got to tell you, that used to be the case fairly often, but now it is becoming increasingly rare because of insurance issues and very difficult to find. And how do you get there? Let's talk about towing. If you break down out on the road and you're not having somebody come to you and you've got to get to them, be aware that even if your insurance covers towing, regardless of the clause or the package or the add-on that you have, often it only covers so many miles. And that happened to me. I had a blowout outside of Flagstaff, and the tow truck came to get me, and I was asking him to take me to Discount Tire. Well, at the time, and I don't know about now, but there were 2 Discount Tires in Flagstaff. So I had done my research to see what the closest one was and assumed that that's where we would be going. And en route, he informed me that I was going over the mileage and was going to have to cover the distance. And I said, well, I checked and the shop that I want to go to is within range. And he's like, oh, I was going to take you to the other one. Now, I don't think he was trying to do anything shady. Usually tow trucks already have a business relation with a particular business. And the one that I was going to was kind of on the outskirts, but it was on the outskirts our way, not the main one that was in town. And so he took me to that one, and it was within my insurance range. So be sure you check on all of that. And also, when he dropped me off, and this was a Sunday morning early, he dropped me off and he put me right by the highway and right by the railroad tracks, and that's okay. I wasn't going to ask him to put me anywhere particular on the lot, but anyway, it was not a very restful, sleepful time that night waiting on the shop to open Monday morning. Okay, so let's say in this option 2 that you were able to find a shop or somewhere that will let you stay while they work on your vehicle, like I am now. I'm very blessed to be able to stay at my mechanic's shop while he gets work done. There are 5 things that I can think of that you need to consider when you're going to stay somewhere. 1, if you're traveling, you probably didn't have your freshwater tank full. Usually we don't travel with them full because of the weight. So you got to have your freshwater tank capacity and how much freshwater on board that you have as a consideration. The second thing to consider is your waste tank capacity. Now that includes your black tank and your gray tank. I have a nature head toilet, so I don't have to worry about my black tank, but I am having to conserve just like in boondocking days while I'm here. I've been here about a week and he's got a couple of more days to go. So I am washing dishes like I do during boondocking, and you can watch that video here. I'll put the link in the video description so that you have it. But you have to conserve water, not so much maybe because of your freshwater tank, which might be the case, but because you don't want to fill up your gray tank, because then you have to go dump. And if your wheels are off of your rig, it's not like you can drive away to go do that. Also, are you going to have electricity? Most shops don't have a 30 amp or a 50 amp if you're in an RV to be able to plug into. And if you're staying inside their shop, you're not going to have solar. So you got to look at your electrical needs and power usage needs as well. If it was a planned maintenance, you probably have a substantial food supply on hand. And of course, these days we're all trying to make sure that we do anyway. But that's another consideration. However long you're going to be there, if you're incapacitated and can't drive, you got to think about your food supply. And also, even though you're getting to stay in your rig, there is the schedule that is not your own. You have to be able to get out if they need to be able to get some work done and they don't want you in the rig, which means maybe you're sitting outside. And if you're a digital nomad like me and depend on the internet, you got to think about their Wi-Fi. Do they have the Wi-Fi that you're going to need, or whatever you might need for your work or your needs while you're there? And so just because you get to stay in your home doesn't mean it's always convenient, because your time's not your own, your schedule's not your own. You got to get up and be ready, and whatever they need is what you have to accommodate. And that's all fine and dandy. I'm not saying that's a negative. I'm just saying it's something that you need to be aware of. The third consideration is being displaced out of your vehicle if you have to have maintenance done, whether it's on the engine or the house part. And if you got towed getting there to get the work done, how are you going to get to your lodging? Are you going to take a taxi? Are you going to do Uber or Lyft, or what are you going to do? And in small towns, often they don't have those services, especially these days. And if you travel with pets, that's another consideration. A lot of lodging, even an Airbnb or a hotel, whatever you're going to stay in, they don't always allow pets. Most of them do anymore, but not always. So you need to check on that and be prepared. And in this day and age, with the coronavirus and everything, not all hotels and Airbnbs and places that usually are open are available, which makes it even more precarious to find some place to stay. And Robert Witham does a great job on Travel News, and a couple of videos ago, you can watch that here. He talked about the increase in travel of RVs and trailers and people traveling in their rigs now instead of staying in hotels and everything. But if you break down where are you going to stay? So be thinking about that as well. It's inconvenient because you don't get to stay in your home. You have to take things with you, and some things might be, if you're like me, you realize, oh no, I need this, and it's back in the RV, and then you have to get there and get back, and so that's just some things to consider, and you have to add all of that cost onto the cost of the actual repair or upgrade or maintenance or whatever you were having done. If you live in your rig full time, how have you handled repairs and maintenance and upgrades? And what do you do about it? I hope you found something useful in today's video on repairs and upgrades and improvements when you live in your rig full time. We covered 1, mobile mechanic and RV tech repair. 2, staying on site in your rig. 3, being displaced and staying elsewhere. You guys, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and share my videos if you find them helpful. Ring that bell and click all so that you get notified of any new videos that I do. And do you do any online shopping, especially right now while you're staying at home mostly? If you do, please consider using my Amazon affiliate link. And I really appreciate you being on this journey with us. Please be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you down the road, everybody. Bye!